Okay, here's another video. Sorry, I have a lot of questions I'm fielding. So the question is what do you do when you have to translate something that you don't believe in or you don't like what it says? What do you do? And this has come up in terms of the Vettius Valens anthology because some of the stuff he says is like outrageous or outlandish to some people. Now, we just read the Mars chapter, and this is one of those examples where people are like, what, how did you feel translating this? Because, he's like, Mars is shouting and shrieking, it's bloodshed and this and that. And I actually agree. Like, I mean, I'm in a Mars transit right now, and I'm getting yelled at left and right. But no one's shouting or shrieking at me. But you know what I mean. It's just it makes me laugh. I'm like Valens is the only one who gets Mars or something. Like the modern psychological astrologers are just like, oh, Mars is fine and everything. No, it's not. Like, no, but you see what I'm saying is that there's some things about the Valens anthology that are really uh, it's like a horror text in some ways. No, I'm a Scorpio, it's Libra Scorpio cusp with a Mercury in Scorpio, so I appreciate that text. I'm trying to read in a cold horror text. Like honestly, I love it. So I have no problem with what I translated with Valens. Although I have to talk about what my response was to translating the whole anthology. After reading it, I had to write astrological remediation because it was so fate based, and the Hellenist astrology is so fate based that I had to respond with, okay, that's fine. And though there's got to be a remedy for whatever it is, there's got to be a remedy. And you have to understand, I was coming at it from a teleological perspective because that's what I got from reading the ancient text was teleology, and a teleologist is actually supposed to help someone develop awesomely. So if there is something horrifying in a chart, you're supposed to help. It would be like just like if there's something horrifying happening to a plant that was growing, you're supposed to like if the tomato plant is falling over, you're supposed to stake it up and help it. And if someone's not growing correctly, you're supposed to help them. That's what I grokked from these ancient texts. So my response I couldn't change anything in the translation that I didn't like. From a code of ethics perspective, and I learned this in sign language interpreting, we have an ethic where we have to render the message faithfully. Like, it literally would be unethical for me to even tweak the translation even a little bit if I don't like what it says. Like, I literally have to say what it says. If I'm sign language interpreting for a Republican, if I'm interpreting for Donald Trump, I have to interpret what he says faithfully. I can't be like making a face and be like, oh my God, like I have to be like interpreting it faithfully because that's what I'm hired to do. So with Valens and also the Tetrabiblos and also Ensoulment, I rendered those texts faithfully, mechanically to what the Greeks said. Like I had no emotional involvement in what I had philosophical involvement and technical involvement in like how the rendering occurred, what that looks like. But I didn't change anything that I didn't agree with or wouldn't personally say. What I did instead was translate the whole anthology and then write my own textbook in response to what was found in that text. So astrological remediation was literally a response to reading these ancient scary texts, which is, hey, no, you can remedy anything in your chart. Like I know that that's what Valens said, but we can remedy anything in the chart. Like, so this was actually me talking, whereas the Valens anthology is like Valens talking through me essentially. So I would say, yeah, I had to render the text faithfully, and then I was able to make a commentary afterwards. Um, yeah, and I have no problem rendering different texts. Like I actually love the different voices of different people. Like uh, this introduction of the Tetrabiblos by Porphyry of Tyre. His voice is so different than Valens, and then the Tetrabiblos, his voice is so different than either of them. And it's kind of cool to just let my mathematics go and see what comes out because I'm like, oh my God, the Tetrabiblos came out. I'm like, I love rendering text faithfully. I think it's an amazing art form. And yeah, so I don't mind translating things that I wouldn't say. That's part of the job. All right.